So it's not going to be a long video today. I just want to show you guys the comparison between the way GarageBand looks and the way Logic Pro X looks. They are extremely similar. I'm sure the one on the Logic Pro X on the iPad might be far more advanced than the GarageBand on the iPad or the phone. Now, Logic Pro X does not have a phone application. It's more refined, and it's a little hard to do something like Logic Pro X on a phone, I think. But you can use GarageBand sounds and instruments and then shift it over to the Logic Pro X on the iPad. I have yet to get it. I will once I wanted to just get my Spotify sorted out first. And yeah, this is where we are right now. I'm going to give you a comparison of which one works depending on the situation. So we're going to start with the GarageBand one. This is what it looks like. I brought it in so you can see. It's both gray. Okay, and then I'll show you guys eventually how to bounce and send that back to, you could send these over to your phone. And once you've completed something, I don't know, you probably do it on the iPad as well. Okay, let's just listen to this. It's the song from yesterday. I prefer to keep it with pieces that I'm working on or as you're watching me work on this, because I don't want to get flagged for copyright infringement. And if I can get close to the sound of perhaps a classical song, then I can break it down and then talk to you guys about sections for classical music. And then we can always switch over to rock and R&B, which come in later on. Let's just start with this. Let's go back to the classical piece. I slowed it down to 85. Okay, so that's on GarageBand. Now we're going to shift to the one on Logic Pro X you guys watched me do, like step by step. And I'm giving you a comparison of how kind of this, some of them are, you know, the GarageBand is a lot simpler in appearance, in contrast to the Logic Pro X, which is far more, there's more intricate detail to it. But it's, obviously Apple was the one that created this, so therefore they know what they're doing. They want people to get involved in music, so obviously they give you the introductory one, which is the GarageBand, and then they shift you. Like me, I got very into this stuff and I shifted over to Logic. And before I had Logic, obviously I was working with GarageBand because I don't remember what software I was using in 1998 when I first started, 1997, 1998, when I first explored the idea of composing on the computer. Mind you, I was composing music before I was using this kind of stuff, so I was already dabbling, you know? Okay. So we're going to listen to the track that was worked on here again. There's a lot more work that needs to be done here. But you can hear there's like the piano needs, I didn't go into that, yeah, there needs a little bit more work in there. And this is 80, BPM is 80 for this. And it's 4/4. The other one is 3/4, so it's a waltz versus a 4/4 beat. Measurement, yeah. And it's in F minor. The other one is in D minor. Okay, that's on, this is Logic Pro X. So I'll just put them to the side of each other. Okay, and they have generally the same instruments. It's just GarageBand is not as advanced. But you really could do like basic, if you understand music composition, it really doesn't matter if you have GarageBand or Logic Pro X. I honestly think it depends on the quality of skill that you have, and you can use any software It's called a DAW. So music software is called, they're called Daws, which I didn't really get into, but it's called a DAW. So these are Daws. Okay, so they're very short tracks. Part of the reason why I wanted to do a classical piece on GarageBand is to show that you don't have to see it as a beginner's level DAW. As long as your standard of music understanding and education is up to a certain level, GarageBand, for instance, it's perfectly fine to use if you're wanting to go into understanding composition through the computer. Always a great place to start. And Logicprox, obviously you need to pay for stuff. So this you need to consider, you know, it's like a monthly thing. And you probably have to consider a couple of things. Are you making money in the music industry? Are you working at it enough to actually feel as if you need to have it? Are you dedicated to spend hours of a day working on tracks to feel confident that Logic is the way to go? There are many, many, many reasons why a lot of people would choose GarageBand over Logic, and I myself have done the same thing. I was, for a long time, I was doing like GarageBand, only because when I got the Apple computer that I had, that I bought in South Africa, which was, I think it was like the laptop, the iPad. No, the laptop, but we didn't have iPads back then. It already came with GarageBand, so that was my go-to. Then I got like equipment, and then I plugged speakers and headphones and all that stuff in. And then over time, I gradually built up. Now I moved from South Africa to the States, meaning none of this existed. This was like the only thing that I carried back with me was my music on my SoundCloud, and I had to rebuild all the tracks that I had to do. That's why for me, SoundCloud is like the go-to, because it was like my backup when I had no equipment. I started from scratch again, guys. This is built up through hard work and labor. None of this my husband paid for. This is all my hard work. I have to pat myself on the back for working hard to just get to this stage. I worked hard. I worked very, very hard to build this up. And this is just the beginning. Mind you, I eventually want to, you know, and luckily I know how to make, like I was talking about soundproofing. I make the soundproofing, that's not hard to do. I also chose the colors that I wanted, going back into the concept of choosing colors and ideas. And I sort of sketched out an idea. Okay, so these are kind of simple versions of architectural design spaces. And I would do it in layers. I did it from one side. So constructing a studio space doesn't just mean, or even using your own space doesn't just mean, okay, let's just get the stuff. You literally have to think through everything, like colors, concepts, ideas. These are just my little sketches. If you need any help doing drawings, let me know. I can help you guys with drawings too. A very basic studio space. So you have a keyboard, computer keyboard, a chair or a stool, another chair, and then two speakers. And then this is generally what it should look like. So you should have your screen in the front if you're going to set it up. You should have a keyboard below it, obviously, on something. And then you should have a computer keyboard pad. And then obviously the speakers to the side. So there's a whole mathematical format to that too. And so instead of an actual tables, for instance, this is not for my space. It was something I was kind of drawing out for somebody else. Decided to keep the pieces. You would have, like, you could probably make incisions in the wall, and then create dovetail hinges and actually screw those onto the space. So there's that for the underlay. So there are a couple of layers you need to go through, and this is, for instance, what the space could look like or did look like. Soundproofing would have to be required or looked into. Make sure that the floor is probably matted. It's probably better if it is matted. Depending on the circumstance, you know, you have to make sure it's sound control. You don't want it to sound like what it sounded like on the video. Going into Home Depot, it's not going to work. Okay. And then you have, this was something I was going to work on eventually for if I get larger into the space. I'm not going to talk about what it is, but I have a plan for a larger space eventually. And this is a little bit more of what a blueprint would look like. Different paper. I used watercolor paper. But I studied art, graphic design, and I know a little bit about architectural spaces because I have family members that are in architecture and construction and all that stuff. So it's not impossible, and I do think that sketching and drawing out ideas before you even get started on building up a space would be a very good idea. If you have any questions on how to do that, feel free to reach out to me. Okay, going back into this. So before you get into all this stuff, you have to remember, start looking at building up your space. Okay. Draw out some sketches. Details of where you can find supplies I actually have in different places. And you need headphones, of course. Headphones are necessary. So there's a whole construction format. You know, it's great, looking into looking, it's great if you are advanced and you're past the stage of understanding Logicprox, GarageBand. But if you're a beginner and you really are wanting to start from scratch, starting from scratch means doing some sketches, looking at your space, seeing what the possibilities are. Ours is in a room right now. This is our room, but I've separated the room into two places. And I've pretty much built the space by myself. I think my husband's in IT, so he obviously helped me make sure everything worked. But it's not hard to, it just takes time to construct it. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for popping over. Love you guys for enjoying or interested in what I'm talking about. And I will speak to you guys in the next one tomorrow. So every day I've chosen to do a daily video because I think it's important for me to help other people, and then it's important for you guys to get a little bit more information every day. Like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.